All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on our Tiger Talk with Housing and Residence Life. And so we are super excited that you all are here and are joining us with Paris. And we hope that we can get all your questions answered about move-in, about residence halls, and any other housing questions that you have. And so before we get started, I'll go ahead and introduce our office. And so I'm Kayla Hubbard. I serve as the Senior Coordinator for Parent and Family Services. And our goal really is to support, inform, and engage family members. And so we host these Tiger Talks a couple times throughout the semester, but also throughout the summer on relevant topics on how you can help your student. And so we're really excited again to be here today. We also have Heather Hampton with us. And so Heather is our coordinator. If you have received any emails or communications or anything that looks great, Heather has been a part of that. And so she is a vital part of our office and works really well with communicating with parents, especially through the newsletter. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and let Paris introduce himself and what he does with Housing and Residence Life.
Hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paris Carter. I am the Marketing and Outreach Coordinator for Housing and Residence Life. So pretty much my title is just cut and dry. I oversee marketing activities as it relates to the Housing and Residence Life Department.
Perfect. And then also know if you have any questions, we would love for you to ask them during these times. And so Heather and I will kind of go back and forth asking Paris questions, but if you would like a question to be asked on your behalf, feel free to put it in the chat and then we'll be sure to ask that question. Also, if you're watching this later on YouTube or another platform, feel free to type in the YouTube comments and we'll be sure to come back and refer to those comments to make sure we get your answers. So first starting, kind of a funny question. Paris, can you talk about maybe a great experience you had in housing or maybe a funny memory you have when you lived on campus within your first year?
Yeah. So it will more so be just a benefit, I guess, of my experience living on campus. I remember my first year living on campus. So I had my roommate who I already knew from, my hometown. We were best friends growing up. But we had some neighbors, and these neighbors, they were a set of twins, brothers, and they actually ended up becoming my lifelong friends. So we are good friends to this day. We keep in touch, and we're actually just great friends just through that experience of me living on campus and living in the dorms.
Awesome. Heather, would you like to share an experience?
Sure, mine is a little funny. I'm an alumni here at the University of Memphis, and I lived in Richardson Towers, which was our high-rise residence hall back in the day. And I lived on the 10th floor, which was the top floor. And one night I had been feeling bad, so I had taken some medicine that made me go to sleep. And I woke up and I heard a lot of people outside my window and a lot of sirens going on, and I could not figure out what was going on. I was delirious. Turns out there was a fire alarm that happened, and I slept right through it. And if you live in the dorm, you know that's a no-no. You have to get out of the building to be safe, and if you get caught in the building, there are consequences. And so I was so afraid, so I ran and hid in my closet. Look, I didn't even do the right thing. I didn't even go outside like I should have, even though I was I could have had an excuse being under the influence of medication, but I was so afraid. I hid in the closet the whole time until I heard everybody coming back to their room. So yeah, that was a little scary for me. Funny when I think about it now, but at the same time, if you hear the fire alarm, do not hide. Go outside.
That's perfect. That's
Yes.
perfect. Mine is not as funny though, but I guess I'm telling on myself a little bit. I went to a university in Mississippi, and my class or our cohort was the first to stay in the set of scholarship dorms that we had. And so we were really excited. We had invited people over from campus that we had just met within Welcome Week. So we're like, we have all these friends. And so we invited them over to show them our new residence hall and like to kind of brag and be like, oh, y'all are in the old ones, we're in the new ones. And then one of the guys that came in, there was nowhere else to sit. So we probably had like 2 chairs and a beanbag. After that, there was nowhere else to sit. And so he decided to sit on the sink. So the sink fell and there was a huge hole in the wall.
Oh,
And
no.
this was like our third day living on campus as freshmen. And so we were so like, we thought we were going to get in some, which we did get in trouble, but we thought we were going to get in so much more trouble. And we were all so scared when that sink, and it was like, boom, it was so loud when that sink fell. And so that was all kind of a bonding moment for us. And kind of like Paris is saying, I'm still really good friends with a lot of the people I lived with on the same floor as in my residence halls, or been a part of their weddings and things like that. And so when it's time to go around and tell funny stories, they probably tell it better than me, but they always tell the story about how one of our friends sat on the sink and we put a huge hole in the wall within 3 days of living in the brand new residence hall that they had built.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so tell your students don't do that, because then they'll have to talk to Paris. Awesome. All right, we'll go ahead and start with our first question. So Paris, how does a student choose a room and a roommate?
Yeah, so first step, a student must submit a housing application, and they will do that through their My Memphis portal, or by visiting memphis.edu/reslife. Then from there, in order to request a roommate, each student must put each other's name and student ID number down on the application. And then within a week or two of submitting your initial application, we'll reach out and let you know that you're able to select a time slot to where you can select a room.
So when will students find out if they got the roommate that they listed on their application, or who their roommate is, and how would they be able to get in touch with that person?
Yeah, so once our department completes assignments, we then send out emails to the students to let them know their assignments. And then from there, they'll be able to log back in their housing portal and they can see their roommate's information. And then they'll be able to reach out via student email to their roommate. And then, from there, just kind of get to know them better and coordinate different things.
Perfect. And then within that, how are housing assignments determined within that process?
So different things go into it. So a lot of different factors. We look at, of course, our available space. We might look at a student's enrollment classification. We have different living learning communities here on campus that stay within the residence halls. We look into whether, if a student is an athlete or if they're a part of the honors department. So just different things factor in with us determining housing assignments.
What if a student gets their roommate assignment or their room assignment and they want to change that? Is there a process, and what is that process? What does it entail?
Yeah, so unfortunately, we don't offer, or we're not offering a period for students to change their room. I think typically in the past, there was like a set time where, okay, we say students could request changes. However, if for whatever reason a student does need a specific room change or would like to request so, they can email our housing department. So that email address is housing@memphis.edu. Just send us an email, or the student can contact their RLC, their resident life coordinator, and just speak to them about it. And then from there, we'll work as best we can to try to accommodate the resident or the student. And that just depends on if, space permits, or if, safety and those type of measures are permitted.
Perfect. Thank you for that clarification, especially for families who've had students come before and may not be the same process as it is now. So going kind of back to the housing application, if a student just completed a housing application, is there space available for them to get their assignment, or kind of what should they do? So if they're just now filling out a housing application, what should be their next steps?
Currently at this moment, housing, we're at full capacity. Okay, so for any student who, has just recently or is about to submit a housing application, they are going to be placed on a waiting list. That waiting list is, pretty deep at the moment, deeper than what I think we're used to in the past. But we do have every intention to house, the students on that waiting list. But if you're just now completing your housing application, I would definitely recommend just to kind of have a plan B, or just, make other precautions just in case. But there is a waiting list at this moment.
Okay, thank you for that. That's good to know. So when are housing fees due and how would a family go about making sure those get paid?
Yeah, so the fee payment deadline is set by our University Student and Business Services. And that deadline this year will be August 25th, by 4:30 p.m. And that is the Friday before the first day of classes. And I'm sorry, what was that second part of your question? Not sure about that.
Just how they would go about paying the fee. Is it paid online? Do they have to send something in? How do they typically pay that?
Gotcha. Yeah. So the payment can be paid online through the My Memphis portal, or you can go into the University Student and Business Services and talk to them and look at other ways to pay. But it definitely can be paid online through their My Memphis portal.
Awesome. Okay, next question, which probably a whole bunch of families have questions about if their student has not shared any information with them that they've received in their email. So when does move-in take place for fall 2023? And does it differ for each residence halls or sophomores or juniors or things like that?
Yeah. So move-in week begins August 21st. And this year we're going to do things a little different. So what we like for our students to do is schedule a move-in appointment. And students can schedule their move-in appointment in time through their housing portal. And just depending on what residence hall they are living in, that'll determine what day they can come and move in. So for example, like August 21st, we will have our residents at Centennial Place move in. August 22nd, residents who are living in Living Learning Complex will be able to move in. August 23rd is reserved for residents of Rawls, Smith, and South Halls. And then August 24th will be our Lambeth campus residents. And then that Friday on August 25th, we will allow our residents of Carpenter Complex and Park Avenue. And so again, just based on your move-in day or what residence hall you're staying in, you'll just go onto your housing portal and you can schedule a move-in time slot to come in and say, hey, I'm coming in at this time. Hopefully it'll make things be a bit smoother. Things could get a little bit hectic and crazy and a lot of traffic on campus during move-in week. So with this process, we're looking for, a easier, smoother process.
So definitely mark your calendars based on where your student will be staying. Is there an option for early move-in or even a late move-in? We kind of got two separate questions, but I guess they could be answered in the same way. But
Yeah.
for early.
So for both of them, students can submit a request. So, like for early move-in, you can submit a request through the housing portal. But, with our space and rooms being limited for early move-in, we do, we ask that you only submit this request if you're just unable to check in throughout the week of the 21st. And then as far as late check-in, pretty much the same thing. You can request that as well. And then, but you'll need to email our housing department and then just request that you be added to the late arrival list. And then once you do arrive for late arrival, you can check in at Centennial Place. Our housing office is 175, and then we'll give you a late arrival pass before checking in.
Perfect. And then when students are moving in, can they get items shipped to the university ahead of time? Or do you recommend students just bringing the items with them when they come? If they're out of state, what's like the best process for them to get all their items on campus?
Yeah, either or, whatever works best for the family. We do have the option for students to get stuff shipped to the university. But in order to do so, student must be registered in their classes. And then from there, the student can contact mail services here on campus, and they can set up their campus mailbox. So once they get their campus mailbox set up, then they'll get their own personal mailbox, and they can have things shipped to their mailbox or for pickup at the University Center mail services on the second floor.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, though, we can't have any items shipped directly to our residence halls. They have to be shipped to their student mailbox.
Perfect. All right, so a question from the chat from a family member. So does the student keep the same room for the entire academic year, or do they have to move each semester? So how does that work? And I think there might have been a change with residence halls and holidays or breaks and things like that. So do students have to go back home for breaks, or can they stay in their residence hall?
That is a great question. I don't want to give any false information. So I want to hold off on that. And if we could we get the contact information and I can reach out directly for that? With me being a little new, I don't want to give improper information with that.
Yeah, no problem. But they will be in the same room from the whole academic year, right? They don't have to.
Yes. So for the academic year, they should be in the same room. I don't believe they have to move out or anything of that nature. There may be like a little checklist that they have to adhere to and just make sure things are in order if they're going to be leaving for the break. But they do keep the same room for the academic year.
I was gonna say, don't be like me. I left a bowl of something in my refrigerator accidentally. And that was back when we had to leave the dorms. And so for a whole month, this bowl of something was just sitting in my refrigerator that wasn't plugged up. Don't be like that.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah, clean all your stuff up if you're not gonna be there. So the next question, we're talking about stuff and getting our students' items to the campus. What type of things should they be planning to bring with them? And also, what type of things should they not be planning to bring?
Gotcha. Yeah. So if possible, we got like a little slide that you can share. And it's just a list of, things to bring. Got it broken down into different categories as far as bed, living, study, bath, kitchen, storage, etc. So you could take a look at this list. This list is available on our website as well. Again, just go to memphis.edu/reslife, and you can find a list on what to bring, as well as what not to bring. As far as what not to bring, definitely no microwave ovens, no candles, things that can catch fire. Okay, thank you. So toaster ovens, I'm sorry, hot plates, so different electrical things. Microwaves are permitted as long as they are at the lowest watt size. So just be mindful of that. But yep, this is pretty much a list of things not to bring.
Perfect. And then we also have this on our family course for incoming families. And so if you go to our website and look at the family resource guide, we have the updated what to bring and what not to bring, and also information about move-in there as well. So I encourage you to go look at that, especially if you are a family member of an incoming student. All right, we'll go on with the next questions. So what are the basic items that you think students should bring? And do you know any tips for moving that parents should know about?
Yeah, basic items. Definitely bring like your all your toiletries, definitely bring like sheets and the comforter and pillowcases. If you think you might need a fridge or something to store snacks, that might be helpful. Just make sure, that, it's a smaller fridge. I think you're looking at maybe no bigger than a 4x4. So just, be mindful of that. As far as tips, I would definitely say, for one, start packing early. So, don't wait till the last minute. use summer, use now to start prepping and packing, and make a checklist just to make sure you got all your essentials. Another tip I would say, you might want to coordinate with your roommate and just communicate on, you know, what you all are bringing. Therefore, you might be able to prevent, you know, duplicating unnecessary items. So anything that'll save y'all space, you know, with limited space in the dorms, you just want to kind of be proactive when it comes to that. I would definitely say wear comfortable clothes for move-in day, not the day to try to be, you know, cute or you know, fly or fresh. Just be comfortable. And then last but not least, you know, upon coming for check-in, just make sure that you have a valid ID card. This can be your driver's license or your student ID. Make sure that you're enrolled in at least 6 credit hours. Make sure that you have immunization records on file, and then make sure your housing contract is complete. So those would be some tips I would say to make sure for moving.
Well, I hope everybody's taking good notes. Those are some excellent tips. Thank you so much. So when families arrive on campus for move-in, I know you mentioned that it'll be a little chaotic and crowded and traffic will be kind of on the high end, but will there be people there to help families with the move-in process, maybe with lifting or moving boxes and things like that?
Yeah, so for sure. We like to treat our move-in, or also known as our warm welcome, we like to treat our warm welcome move-in as a campus-wide event. So we like to get different volunteers, different organizations, like to get them involved, and you know, they should be there to help students and families move into their dorms, lift heavy items, move things, anything that a family might need. So typically, you know, we have our athletic department, teams from our athletic department come out and help. We might have Greek life organizations, just various other student organizations take part in our warm welcome. So there will be some helping hands available.
Awesome. And y'all will also get to see me and Heather sweat with you all as well during the move-in. We'll have a table set up in between the residence halls to give information out to family members and maybe some snacks and things like that. We've done popsicles before, but they keep melting, so they're a good idea in theory. But then when we get out there, the cooler doesn't keep them as cold. So we have a question from the chat. Do the windows in Centennial Hall have blinds, and are curtains necessary? So will they need to bring blinds? And do you think they should bring curtains?
There are blinds, I believe. Curtains are optional. You can bring curtains as long as, I believe, the rod, make sure it's a suspension rod. So nothing that, you know, that needs to be nailed into, you know, into the wall. A lot of students do choose to bring curtains. So, you know, I think if you're thinking about it, I would just go ahead and make preparations for that.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember in college having the blackout curtains, which was probably not the best thing because I couldn't see when the sun came out, but I'm not a early riser or a morning person. So it was great for me to keep on snoozing while everybody else is going about their day. All right, so we talked a little bit about mail services within Residence Hall. So how will students receive mail, and is there an additional fee for students who live on campus to set up a mailbox?
Yeah, so students again will receive mail through their personal student mailbox. You'll just have to get that set up through mail services, which is located in the University Center on the 2nd floor. There is no extra cost to set this up. This is already included within your housing fees. So yeah, you'll just need to get that set up once you arrive here on campus.
Great. So are there certain tools that families should bring to the move-in? As you can see, the dad in the background has a dolly. Are those kind of things going to be provided, or should families plan to bring those along too?
We will have dollies available. We'll have dollies and carts, but they will be limited. So, if you have some, feel free to bring those down as well. with them being limited, it might be best for you to kind of bring what you can. But if that's too much for you to pack, don't stress it out. We'll make things work with what we have for sure. Okay. But yeah, dollies and carts will be available. And then if any set of tools that you think you might need for your room setup, feel free to bring those things as well.
I know one of our parents on our new student orientation parent panel, she always says, don't forget the command strips.
There you go. Command strips are definitely an essential for sure.
They are. I didn't know about command strips, so I got to college and I still use them even now
There you
to
go.
do easy things that I don't want to put a hole in the wall.
For sure.
Another question from the chat: how do we get the refund that was charged to my students' account for the mail services that we set up at new student orientation? So I'm assuming you'll have to reach out to mail services and let them know that your student is staying on campus. Harris, do you think that's
Yeah, I would definitely agree.
perfect? All right, going back a little bit to the residence halls and what students, all the resources that they have in the residence halls, what is the main purpose of a resident advisor?
Yeah, so your resident advisor is a student worker or a student with some experience who stays in the residency halls, stays on the same floor. And, their purpose is just to create a warm, welcoming, inclusive environment for dorm residents. They're available for any, complaints, reports, requests, or any emergencies that might arise from our residents. And then they're just also there to inform residents about, relevant campus activities that might be going on. So your RA is just kind of there as definitely a support system, someone to lean on, and provide a helping hand.
And what opportunities do students have to meet other residents in their hall, maybe on their floor or even from other halls?
So, there'll be various opportunities throughout the semester. So, we have our resident life coordinators and our RAs. Typically, they will be conducting different programs for their respective halls. So students will have the opportunity to come to these events or programs and meet other residents or other students. And then the university, of course, hosts its weeks of welcome the first couple weeks of school. So, during weeks of welcome, you're going to have various activities throughout the week, where students can interact, engage, and just meet new friends. So there'll be lots of opportunities throughout the semester for sure.
Awesome. And I was already in college, but also loved always having my RAs and the programs and events they put on and different things that happen inside the residence hall and tutoring that happens in places like Centennial Place as well. So I think living on campus, there's for sure a lot of benefits to just living inside the residence halls and all those resources that Paris talked about and came with them. So last question, unless we have a question in the chat. So if there's another question, feel free to ask. But this question is about guests. And so can students have guests and can they also have overnight guests?
Yes. So guests are permitted during our visitation hours. Guests must be, signed in and out at the lobby desk of each residence hall. And so visitation hours for guests start at noon and they end at midnight from Monday through Thursday. So Monday through Thursday, they'll start at noon and end at midnight. And during the weekends, our visitation ends at 2 a.m. So again, guests are permitted as long as they're signed in and out and they are there during our visitation hours. I believe Carpenter, like the apartment style dorms, there aren't any visitation rules. You don't have to sign them in and out. But as far as, our LLC and Rawls and Smith and Centennial Place, we do have those procedures put in place.
Awesome, perfect. And there's a question in the chat that said, Paris said there's no microwave oven, but I didn't see it on the list that was displayed on the screen. So can they bring microwave ovens And then secondly, if the student's housing fees are paid by scholarship, does that automatically deduct before the deadline?
I misspoke earlier. I think I said microwave toaster oven. So toaster oven, you cannot bring a toaster oven. But as far as like a microwave, that is okay as long as it's at the lowest wattage. I think the lowest wattage is like 400, 600, one of those. So yeah, that is permitted.
Perfect. And then if a student's housing fee is paid by scholarship, does that automatically deduct before the deadline?
Yes, as far as I know, it does. However, it doesn't hurt to double check and just, call the, business office and make sure that that payment was received.
Yeah, and then you can also log into, or your student can log into their My Memphis if you're a family member that's on here. And then they can go to finances tab and then go to their Tiger Express. And it should list if they already have their housing assignment and they have come to new student orientation and have registered, it should list, their tuition and fees plus their housing assignment. If they sign up for a meal plan, it'll list that. And so you can go in and kind of see what your final breakdown of those numbers are. And then also see your scholarships that will cover that. But yeah, just like Paris said, you can double confirm with USBS that'll be taken out. But usually the way that it goes, if you have scholarships that are within the university or grants or loans or anything like that with our scholarships and financial aid office, it pays for tuition and fees first, and then secondary will pay for housing and then meal plan as well. So those should be covered by those scholarships. All right, perfect. All right, I think those are all the questions, unless y'all can think of some. Heather and Paris, y'all think y'all are good?
I think so.
Okay, perfect. Well, Paris, again, thank you so much for being with us today and for allowing us to, drill you with all of these questions about housing. And so we know we get a lot of questions, and we're excited that our family members are also stoked about their students living on campus. And so we will share Paris's contact information. This video will also be on YouTube and on our website and linked in our newsletter. And so if you have any questions, feel free to let us know. We can get you over to housing, or maybe we can answer your question if we know a little bit about it. Other than that, thank you for joining, but please join us again in person for Parent and Family Weekend. So that is our next big event. The biggest event of the year for us is Parent and Family Weekend. And so we have a lot of great events slated for September 29th through October 1st. So that's a Friday through a Sunday. So there's a brunch, football game, tailgate. You can take a tour around the city. All these fun things that we have planned for y'all. So put that on your calendars, and know that if you sign up before August 1st, we will include you in our early bird deadline. So try to sign up before August 1st. That includes your t-shirt, things like that. You can look at what all it includes on our website. If you sign up out there August 1st, we still want you to come, but just know the price will increase after the 1st of August.
Awesome.
Perfect. Well, thank y'all so much for attending again, and let us know if you have any questions. Thanks, Paris.
Thank y'all. Have a good one. Look forward to seeing y'all the week of August 21st for Move In.
All right.